In this video, we are going to talk about the Terraform and AWS. So let's get started. Alright, and today we are going to discuss some of the basics of Terraform and also about AWS. Okay, so if you want to understand why do we need Terraform, so first we need to understand what are the challenges that we had in the traditional IT infrastructure, right? So some of these of the challenges that we are facing, one is slow deployment, right? So slow deployment because we need to get the hardware and other thing from the vendors and then start deploying it. So we need to procedure it first. We need to manage the infrastructure. So it was taking a lot of time for us to do to get the things done and get it approved. Later on we were able to deploy it and it is also very expensive. So if you want, go ahead and buy your own hardware. You We will have to pay some upfront cost also when you are in traditional IT, but cloud has changed that entire thing. But there is a problem. You with the infrastructure management using cloud computing, so that is why we have Terraform, so we will talk about later. So okay, so let's talk about the next is so next the third point. It was completely manual process that you are going to your vendors and getting all your requirements, you are providing those to them, they are supplying all the requirement back to you, right? So it was completely manual process and it was taking a lot of time with manual process. So there were some human error also. Human error, you can't do anything for that, but we can minimize that human errors. We can't vanish human errors, but it can be minimized in traditional IT also. We were having that error. So to tackle all of this, what happened, cloud computing started coming into pictures. And and when cloud came into picture, we had another problem, that is management of your infrastructure. Okay, so let's bike off. In the help of cloud computing, you were able to create lot of many resources, but how do you manage that, right? So let's just say, for example, I'll just go ahead and deploy 100 EC2 instance, 100 AWS S3 buckets, right? So if I ask to do it manually, it will take too much time. Even if I say 5 minutes per 5 minutes for it, you take 5 minutes for deployment and EC2 instance, it would end up wasting 500 minutes, right? So this is a lot as a perspective of the resources management. So that is a lot, so to overcome. So you can companies started thinking about it and they started deploying some tools like such as Ansible, uh, Terraform, CloudFormation, SaltStack, Chef, Puppets, and another. So there are infrastructure tools. So right, we have two terms here: infrastructure and code. So you already know what is code, right? Uh, so firstly, there is Terraform. Terraform is completely free for use, and there is also paid one. You can go for it, buy Terraform Cloud and other things, which we'll be speaking about in the next video. Uh, so there is Terraform is completely free. So okay, the next is CloudFormation. The CloudFormation template. These are AWS native tools. So you will need to know YAML and JSON language for the CloudFormation. Okay. So the next is heat, and the next one is Ansible. So basically, Ansible is provided by Red Hot. So this is also kind of infrastructure as a code tool, but we can't say it is 100 infrastructure as a code. We have multiple things to consider. So it will be talking about it later. So the next is Stall, Stack, Chef, Puppet, and others. So now you might ask which tool should I learn. So I won't recommend. For example, if your organization is using any of these infrastructure as a core tool, I'm sure if your organization is working on cloud, they would be using some infrastructure core tool, right? Yeah. So so the next is configuration management tools. Okay. Uh, so now in infrastructure as code tools itself, we have two types. One is configuration management tools, and the other is provisional tools. So first, let's say management tools. What are management tools? That is Ansible, Chef, Puppet, and configuration management tools. Basically, they are primarily designed to install and manage software on existing servers, and they also maintain a standard structure of code, and also it support version control. It support version control. Yeah, right. So the next is, so the configuration management is primarily designed to install software on existing servers. Okay. So the next is idempotent. Basically it is very important termination. The terminology here, right? If you see here, I have given the, as very lemon definition for this item potent. So please understand what is the item potent. Okay. So item potent means you can run the code multiple times. Yeah. And every time you run it, it will only make changes that are necessary to bring the environment into a defined state. Yeah, it will leave as it is if it already in place. uh Basically, you have written a script and you created 100 servers. Okay, so later on you will run the same script again. So what it would do is it will understand that I already created 100 as 100 servers. This person is asking me to create another 100, or it is the same one. It will understand if it is the same one. It will leave as it is. It is not going to alter anything, right? So for the more clarification, you go through with this the definition. So the next is configuration management tools. So tools can do some degree of infrastructure provisioning, but you can't you take this up and use entirely for infrastructure provisioning, right? Focus here is that some tools are going to be better fit for certain tasks. Okay. uh, so so the next is infrastructure provisioning tools, uh, and we call those tools are infrastructure provisioning tools and Terraform cloud formation. All these things are in pro structure provisioning tools, which basically means they can provision the servers and infrastructure by themselves. By writing script by writing Terraform Hashikov language, we can use Terraform. In Terraform, use something called as HCL language. We will be speaking about it later. Okay. Yeah, the next one is we can deploy VPC, EC2, database, servers, etc. etc. And this cloud formation or infrastructure provision tool basically you can deploy your VPCs, yeah, EC2 database, and whatever the resources that you are having, you can use that. You can write script for that. But I told we have many tools like Terraform, cloud formation and all, but why do we need Terraform only? So we uh, so why we are studying Terraform only? Why not cloud formation? So the answer that it is really straightforward. As I already told you, cloud formation is made for AWS only. So you can only work with AWS. So go through with the cloud formation, but Terraform you have something called as providers. Yeah. So so providers looking into the detail, right? So but in the Terraform it is cloud agnostic. You can go ahead and deploy resources in almost. So but why Terraform? As discussed, it is popular IAC infrastructure provisioning tools, and basically it is free open source tools developed by HashiCorp, and it is simple configuration language and faster learning curves, and we can deploy uh, infrastructure in multiple platforms, not only AWS. So yeah, we can deploy infrastructure in multiple platforms. Yep, and it is very easy integration with configuration management, look like Ansible. So, so the next is it is possible because Terraform is something called as provider, and which we'll see in the future. So it is easy integration with configuration management tools like Ansible. So how to get started in the next? So there are. So, what should do? The first thing that you need to install Terraform. So, based on your operating system, and go ahead and install it. If you want to watch on video on that, I have already created uh, and separate videos. So, go through and check it out how to install Terraform in Windows, Linux, and how to create programmatic access, and how to install AWS CLI, and how to create AWS CLI profile from user. So that's all.